Well, good morning, good morning. Coming in after some nutria. Several people had curious on how I set up. I'm gonna tear this swamp apart, find where the nutria is sitting up on their little pads, set as many as I can today, possibly a few beaver sets. So I got several hundred acres of swamp to pick apart this morning and find all their pads, and I'll show you how I set for nutria. But let's get the morning started. I waited a little bit till the duck hunters, so I didn't mess up any of their hunts, but I'm gonna get back out in the swamps. We'll see as I get the sets put in. This is what I've got here. I got a spot where nutrias are climbing up on these little pads. They have a trail. I have beat me out a spot right here to bed the trap. They're going to come right across through here anyway. Got a 3/8 fiberglass rod. That's the shallow end stake. This Q-tip right here has got some of Tom's Lone Oak Trading Tom's Nutria #1 on it. It's the #1 nutria lure. I've got about 8 feet of cable, 3/32 cable. Run out to, I'm going to drop the, these are just oversized peanut butter jars we save all through the year. And I fill them full of quickcrete. I'm going to run my cable out in deep water and drop it. That should be good for a nutria. They're already using this trail on a daily basis. There's poop all over the place. Put the lure on the Q-tip. And I'm gonna move on down. There's quite a bit of nutria in here. This should make a catch. We'll move on down. These nutria are climbing out on these little pads like that, and they got little trails where they're cutting through. I've set the trap right there. It's a Fleming 1.5. Got my Q-tip right there with the Tom's Nutria #1 on it. We use it in #2. It's kind of a mix in and out, but all the nutria are coming through this little gap, coming up here on this pad, sitting right there. We'll run around there and put in another set. After I come up through this little cut, looking around, I'm gonna put some more out here. There's several good nutria spots in here, but this, and hopefully I have a catch tomorrow. I'm gonna run the cable out in the deep water, put it on the other peanut butter jar. That's all there is to it. They're easy to catch. We'll see you on the next set. Found another one of these pads that the nutria like to sit on, and they got a trail right through there. I'm taking a hammer and beat down a little bed to set a Duke 1.5. 3/8 rods. They blend in like a stick. Nobody notices what they are. Got about 8 foot of 3/32 cable running out to a big peanut butter jar full of quickcrete. Works pretty good. Like I say, on that Q-tip right here, I have chosen to mix it up a little bit with Lone Oak Trading's Tom's Nutria #2 lure. I just put that set in right behind me with the #1. So I know they're coming through this little gap, and this should pick up one tomorrow. But I'm gonna drag the anchor out in deep weight, drag the anchor out in deep water and keep moving down. But they are using this little pad. I'll see you at the next set. That's what I got. The nutria are climbing out here on these pads out in the swamp. I mean, just pads. I use the 3/8 rods because, like I say, this is just a bush. There's no really solid ground to anchor to, but I run this down through the roots. I beat a bed in it with a hammer. Got me a Q-tip right there with Tom's #1 on it. You see some fresh nutria poop right here. Lets me know they're using this little pad. Between the lure on the Q-tip and that Duke 1.5 right there bedded on the little pad, And 8 feet of cable running out to a giant peanut butter jar full of quickcrete out in deep water. We'll hopefully have one here tomorrow. I'm gonna move down to the next set locations. Found another one of our typical little nutria pads out here. There's no solid ground to be had, and none. I mean, there's nutria poop here, nutria poop right here, nutria poop all over the place. Bedded a 1.5 Duke right there. That Q-tip has the Tom's Nutria #1 on it. I had some pretzels, some kind of pub mix. Came in a fancy little can. I figured I had a use for it. I'd fill it full of quickcrete, and that's going to be my weight for the deep water end. But nutrias are not super strong, so I'll drag that out tight and set it off. But there should be a nutria here tomorrow, hopefully. We'll see. I'll get the anchor out in deep water and keep going. Got a baby nutria sitting right there in that bush. He don't know which way to go. You gonna go? You gonna sit there? What are you gonna do? He's just sitting there looking at me. You gonna go finally? Wind's making it rough. He's just sitting right there. Oh, there's 2 of them. There they go. Not the ones I'm after. I'm after adults, but it's pretty cool to see them just sitting there. I'll get a set in right here. Hopefully catch some of the adults. They're using that pad. Oh. I've chosen to put this set in here. I've got a Q-tip with the lure back in here. I have a Duke 1.5 bedded. Right there's the loose jaw. Anchored on 3/8 rod. Everything's using this pad. I put it a little deeper so the little smaller ones maybe not set it off, but the big ones should set it off. There's the trap, bedded on the bottom. There's my Q-tip. And I'll run my cable out into deep water to another peanut butter jug. Full of quickcrete. That should work. I'll get that set finished and keep moving. Just getting this set in. Where all these nutrias I just jumped was over here on these pads. I set this pad up right next to it, not too far from where I just made that other set. Took my hammer and beat that down so the trap will be almost flush. Right here is a Q-tip with the nutria lure on it. Got it anchored to my 3/8 rod right here, stuck down in the roots. It's solid. And I'm gonna drop my little weight out in deep water. Should work. I'm hearing mooing. They're mooing at me all around here. It's their little alarm call. But yeah, I'll get that one set out in deep water and move on down. There's gonna be some nutria catches in the morning because they're in here. Get this one finished and keep moving. Here's my next set, and the reason why I chose it is I come by here and there was one sitting on it. They get up here on these little pads and just sit, and they've got trails coming and going in and out. I've taken the Q-tip right here with Tom's #1 nutria lure on it. And here's a Fleming 1.5 shoved down in there to get it nearly flush. The 3/8 rod for anchor, about 8 feet of 3/32 cable, running to, I don't know, it's cheese puffs or what. I found that little bucket, figured it'd be a good weight if I filled it full of quickcrete. That's one I'll run out here in deep water and drop. But there's another nutria set. It's just a more traditional type set. Things are climbing up right here, up on these pads, and this is where they'll sit. I run one off right here when I'm paddling by, so I know they're using it. Here's my 3/8 rod anchor, beat down in there solid, wired off to it, and cable off to another peanut butter jar. But I'll get this set pulled out in deep water, dropped, and keep moving. I'm seeing quite a few nutria back in here. Should be a good check. But I put some of Tom's nutria #1 back in here on this Q-tip. But I'll keep moving. When you get out here and you realize you left your driver at home, I had to redneck engineer one. It worked. I got the 1/8 inch cable on the Bigfoot mud anchor down in there. I'm gonna put in a caster mount here. Found a new colony that I didn't know was here. I just wired 2 3/8 rods together and used it for a driver. I'll get this set finished and we'll look at it. Well, I have smeared my caster lure up here on the mound just to get some attention. I have the beaver trap bedded right here. And I'm going to run my cable out in deep water, anchor it up solid. I don't have enough water to drown, but I do have enough water to hold. I'll get him out here away from the mound and as deep as water as I can get to and anchor him off. He'll be ticked, but he'll be here. We'll move on down. I'm getting this another beaver set in. Pretty good sized caster mound. I'm still using the homemade driver with the 2 3/8 fiberglass rods wired together. I got that anchor in. I'm gonna run the anchor out, the deep water anchor out, hold it. I got a pretty good stick lodge right across from me. This is a new colony that I have not hit, so it should be pretty stupid. Should make a few catches tonight. I'm gonna get this pulled out and keep putting in nutria sets because there's nutria poop right up in there. Big piles of it all over the place. And a new beaver lodge. So there should be some catches here in the morning. I'll get this right down into deep water and keep moving. Found another one of these little places where the nutria are climbing out up on these pads. I got a 1.5 bedded right there. Got the Q-tip with the nutria lure right here. Should hit. I'm gonna pull out in a little deeper water, anchor my stake. Hopefully we'll have a catch here tomorrow. But I'm anchoring it heavy because we may very well get a curious beaver sticking nose in this lure too, because it's an apple base. So we'll find out. I'm gonna get it anchored and keep moving. Another one of these nutria pads where they have trails running up all in through here. They'll come up here and sit. This is kind of like their little feed pad. They'll climb in and out, and just sit up here for the day. I bedded a Duke 1.5 right here down in the grass. And I have a Q-tip right here with Tom's #1, and I put a Q-tip over here with Tom's #2 on it. I'm gonna run this out into deep water and anchor it off. Hopefully there'll be a catch, because some of the nutrias I've seen in here already, this is a spot I have not hit. Some of these are the size of 2-year-old beaver. They're huge. I'll anchor the setup and keep moving. Hoping we can get him moving. There's a big nutria right there. Right over by that tree. Yeah. Come on, do it. But they're making these eat outs all over the place. They eat everything. They just leave a little mound to sit on. But there's right there on that side of that tree, he's eating vegetation They just scooping it in. That thing is huge. I'm just running out of all kind of water trying to get up in there. I know I got a stick lodge. I can see a nutria out on that pad. That thing is huge. The two I've seen over by the stick lodge look like 2-year-old beaver. But I'll see if I can get over there. Getting this set in. There's my trap. I've anchored it up here on this 3/8 rod and beat it down in there. It's in pretty solid, but I'm gonna put this real solid anchor out in deeper water. I've seen nutrias climbing all over this thing. There's so many nutrias back in here. But the nutria, Tom's nutria number 1's right there on that Q-tip. Right in front of that 1.5. I'll get the anchor out into deep water and keep moving. It should be some pretty good catches in the morning. I've seen so many nutrias just since I come into this little cut. There's probably 20 that took off this beaver lodge. I'll anchor it up and keep going. Just another one of these pad sets where they're climbing up. I mean, they're dumb as a brick. They'll step on a naked, uncovered trap. Right there's my Q-tip with the lure on it. And I'm going to anchor the cable out in deep water. But there was so many nutrias took off this old stick lodge. It was crazy. There had to be at least 20 just going off in all different directions. That was something to see. But I'll get it finished, anchored up, and move on. I'm going to probably put as many sets in this area as I can because this is where they want to be. I'll keep moving. Got another one of these pad sets. They come up here and they just got trails. They're coming in and out, just sitting here. My Q-tip right there with the lure on it. Right there's a Duke 1.5. I beat a hole down in the pad with a hammer so it would sit down in there flush, give them a place to step. And I'm dropping another one of these oversized peanut butter jugs out in deep water. I'll keep moving. That's another set. I'm headed back to the boat ramp, and where I find sign, I'm gonna put sets. Especially when you find castor mound with fresh mud topped all over it. I put in some castor here. I have my TS85 bedded right here. Anything coming around here snooping around is going to have to be right over the top of that beaver trap. I'm going to get that run out into deep water and keep moving.